Okay, I need you outside.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Tab. Hold. I need your opinion. I need you to go inside.
Newly released body cam video shows how shocked an officer was with how allegedly bad the living conditions were inside a home in Toledo, Ohio. More than a dozen children were taken from the home, and the details are awful. And now, these 3 adults are facing charges. We're on the case, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. It always shocks me in cases of neglect with how surprised people can be when officers have issues with the living conditions that their children are living in, and they try to explain away the mess in their home, almost as if a little sweeping would actually solve the problem.
Answers now. What is that stench?
This Toledo police officer could smell something awful even before she made it to the porch of this house on August 10th. The situation got worse when she saw who was living in the home.
A kitten inside that's paralyzed that got thrown down the stairs?
Police were first called to the home because a neighbor called 911 saying a kitten was potentially hurt after being thrown down the stairs. Now, the man at the door said everything was fine, but then police go inside. Police say 13 children were living inside that house. And from watching this body camera video, you can tell that the police officer decides enough is enough and it's time to do something about this situation. So she pulls the adult male inside the home outside for a chat.
What's your last name?
Oliveri.
Spell it.
Oliveri.
First name.
Angel.
Date of birth.
March 16th, 1997.
March 16th, 97.
1997. Yes, ma'am.
You live here?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your phone number? What's your social?
Bud, get inside, please. All right.
All 5 of your children live here?
Yes, ma'am.
I need their names.
So, my oldest is,
Last name? Date of birth?
Stop, Gabriel. Come on, boy.
Alright, you gotta go inside, alright? No, keep your
Sticker.
Keep your sticker.
Y'all go inside.
Keep your sticker, go
Can I
inside.
get a sticker?
I don't have any. I need you to go inside, okay?
Mommy, you already had one.
No, please.
Can you get off the phone, please?
Huh?
Can you get off the phone, please?
I'm on phone with my wife.
Okay, that's fine. Can you? Okay. I don't know of what. I need information. Next.
My twins says,
Next.
my son, born, and then my youngest son is baby.
Okay, what's mom's name?
My wife's name is Cassandra Lambert, and we're not married. but we're engaged.
Before we get back to this episode of On the Case, which is one of the most watched shows on YouTube, I need to talk about our partner and sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. We're talking about America's largest injury law firm. They have more than 1,000 attorneys, and they win a lot. They've recovered more than $25 billion for more than 500,000 clients, and in the past few months, a client in Florida received $12 million after the insurance company offered just $350,000. In Pennsylvania, a client was awarded $26 million. That is 40 times the insurer's $650,000 offer. And then another client in Pennsylvania received $29 million after being offered only $500,000. Even if you don't think your case is worth millions of dollars, why not fight for what you deserve? Morgan & Morgan makes it so easy to start a claim. You can do it with just 8 clicks on your phone. So if you've been hurt and you need to start a claim, go to www.forthepeople.com/OTC. You can also scan this QR code on your screen or click the link below.
Do you know her date of birth?
The same as my
July 1st?
Yes, 1998 is her year.
What year? 98?
98, yep, 1998. July 1st.
Okay, what's Cassandra's phone number?
Sorry about that. I'm on the phone with her right now. But
No,
her
that's
number.
fine.
She's at work at the moment.
Okay.
I was just at work
Do you know
a
why
while ago,
this
so-
is happening? Why
No.
I'm getting information? You have no idea.
No, ma'am.
Do you think these living conditions are acceptable for children?
No, I don't.
No. Okay. I understand. I'm not trying to talk down on you. I'm not trying to make you feel like less of a man or a person or to feel bad. It's one thing if adults want to live in filth, in their own filth, and not
Yes,
take
ma'am.
care of themselves. You're adults. If you want to live that way, these kids didn't sign up
No,
for that.
trust me, I understand
They
that.
do not need to. Okay,
accept
well,
this
there's
at all.
plenty. I see plenty of adults in here that could get their up off the couch and start cleaning.
Yes, ma'am.
The amount of flies in there. There's diapers all over the
I know.
floor. There's trash everywhere. There's animals. There's animals that are not being taken care of for. Unacceptable.
I know.
And we will not have that.
I hear you on that.
Hang tight.
I'm sorry that you guys had to see that.
It's not. You don't need to be sorry to me. You need to be sorry for your kids.
No, I know that. In general,
Your kids.
Yeah.
Here's the mugshot of Angel Oliveri. He tried to explain away the conditions in the home like it wasn't really that big of a deal. He also, as you notice there, remained on the phone while police were trying to talk to him, and that seemed to just make the tension in the air even worse. Now, what he said was just a little cleaning that was needed. But according to police, what actually was going on inside the home allegedly was human feces on the floor, no functioning shower or toilet, and animals that had urinated and defecated on the floor. And there was actually no food in the kitchen, according to police. And the ages of the children who you saw inside that home. And from what I saw watching that, it seems like they didn't really understand just how bad the conditions were inside the house that they were living in. The ages of those children ranging from 13 down to just an infant. It also turns out that Oliveri had warrants already out for his arrest.
Did you used to live on 14th Street?
East side?
The 43604, 336 14th.
I don't. I used to live in downtown, the PLs.
Yeah.
A while back.
On the
yeah,
14th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Turn around for me. I'm going to take this one.
May I ask why I'm getting handcuffed?
You have warrants.
Those warrants appear to be traffic related, stemming from operating a motor vehicle without a license and having expired tags, according to court records we found online. Now, he wasn't the only adult living in that home. Here's when his sister-in-law returns, mom to 8 kids in the house. This is her conversation with police.
Do you live here?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a call here that there was something, a cat got thrown down the stairs or something and was injured. When we go inside and see what we saw, the living conditions here for this house and these kids being here, we have a big problem.
Yeah, but no, it gets cleaned up every day. Listen to me.
No,
Listen.
no, there's no way. There's no way. No way. And like I told him, he's in cuffs right now because he has warrants. He has 4 warrants.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't have any, but you can check mine.
No, that's fine. We'll eventually grab your information and all. And like I told him, I'm not trying to talk down on you guys. I'm from the east side. I grew up here.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not somebody who had it made in Sylvania.
Right.
I get people go through.
Yes,
I understand that.
Yes,
I'm not trying to talk down on you guys and make you guys
I'm not.
feel a certain type of way, make you feel like a bad mom, a bad whatever. I understand that. But at a certain point, too far is too far.
I know, and that's what I be telling you.
I understand.
I'm
I
the
understand.
oldest sister,
but
so you
but
know,
that's where we are right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
So what do I do?
We're gonna get some stuff figured out.
So do I go clean the house or what?
Can you bring me my never mind. Just hang tight for me. So your children live here as well?
Yes, ma'am.
How many kids?
I have 8.
8 kids here?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Can I go clean? Like,
Okay,
please?
hold on. I understand. Just give me a minute.
Hey, did y'all...
Okay, on here, I want you to write your first name, your last name, your date of birth, your phone number, your social.
Now that woman is Angel Lambert. She and Cassandra Lambert were arrested with Oliveri because of those living conditions inside the home that police say were dangerous. Police say those living conditions, in fact, put the health and safety of those kids at risk. And according to WTVG-TV in Toledo, it appeared the children hadn't bathed in days. Now, the children have been removed from that home. They've been put in temporary housing, and according to the TV station, the suspects are not allowed to have contact with the kids. The 3 of them were released on their own recognizance. Joining us now is criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Josh Corman. It's always great to have you on Law and Crime. Very tough body camera video, just when you think of the amount of kids, 13 inside of this house in Toledo. Just what was your reaction when you watched kind of the snippets of body cam video that we have?
Well, I think it is alarming, and this is sadly one of the things that we're used to seeing, especially people who deal with child abuse cases, prosecutors who deal with this kind of stuff all the time, and children's services workers who deal with this. I think we're used to seeing it. Rarely do, I guess, does the body cam make its way to the news, where the news kind of sees the same things that the police officers are saying. That's normally something that's saved for a trial. So I think in this situation, what makes this a little different is just people sitting at home watching their evening news were able to see how bad it was when the police arrived on the scene and walked through basically walked through a crime scene.
Right, because it's shocking, for us who don't investigate these things regularly, and like in this case, the police officer, like she could smell something from outside the house, like before she was even on the front doorstep, which just kind of really painted the picture of how bad the conditions allegedly were inside. When it comes to prosecuting a case like this, or even just charging a case like this, and you could tell in that body camera video, the officer's kind of assessing the scene and then just decides it's time that she needs to do something about it. What is typically the bar from someone who just lives a very messy lifestyle? Maybe they have very tough upbringing, tough living conditions, financial situation. And then when does it cross the line to being a criminal case of neglect?
So I think in a situation like this, the statute or the law specifies to the officer, I guess, what should be charged. And I would imagine in all these kinds of cases, she being the police officer, would have some kind of a conversation with the prosecutor about, here's what I was called to the scene for. We showed up thinking it was something to do with a complaint about an animal or a complaint about a cat or something, and this is what we found. And so also immediately, Department of Children's Services will be contacted, and they will have to send someone to the house to also assess the situation and figure out what needs to happen as far as where the kids are going to go. And usually a prosecutor is involved at that initial stage of kind of directing the officer of what needs to happen next and what the prosecutor believes needs to happen. And I think in this situation, she got there, and like you said, just from the stench outside and then seeing, 13 kids inside, no toilet, no food in the house, animals are, I think they talked about one of the dogs was infested with fleas and the kids had, insect bites all over them. I think to her that was what would qualify under the statute as a substantial risk to the health and safety of those kids. And so for that reason, no matter what Department of Children's Services is going to be contacted. But I think probably from calling a prosecutor said, yes, go ahead and make the arrest, and we'll file the charges on this.
And in this case, you have the man who is seen for the most part on the body camera video, and he's the dad to 5 of the kids. Then his sister-in-law is the mother to 8 of the kids in the house. And then the man's wife or fiance was also living in the home. So you have 3 adults facing charges in this case. How do you go about figuring out who's the person to blame, considering there were 3 adults in this house or this situation?
Well, I haven't seen the charging document, but from what I have been able to see, what it looks like is that Angel Lambert, who is the mother of the 8 kids, she was charged with 8 counts of endangering children, and then both Cassandra and Angel, the mother and father of the other 5, were charged with 5 counts. So I assume that they each got charged with endangering their own kids, or whichever kids were their biological children, or whichever kids they were the guardians of. As best I can tell, that's how it would be. Now, I think otherwise you're correct. If they had not been the parents, then I think probably law enforcement would have also charged all 3 of them. Or if there had been a grandparent or someone else living in the home, very likely they would have been charged as well for failing to protect the safety and welfare of the kids who were inside the house.
Because that was one thing I was thinking is, if, say, he was the one who was home most of the time, and I don't know what his situation, this is just more in general in these cases, where if, maybe he was more of a clean person than the other 2, is it because the kids are in the home that everybody's responsible for it in the eyes of a prosecutor or a police officer when you have a situation like that and adults are living in the house?
I think certainly in the eyes of a police officer, and certainly in the eyes of an initial charge, in a criminal case, it's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. However, it's only probable cause to arrest someone. And so oftentimes, not just in child abuse cases, but in all kinds of cases, we will see multiple people be arrested for something and initially charged, and then as the investigation continues or all the evidence comes out, or they have attorneys and the discovery is shared between the parties, then you realize, like, okay, 2 of these people, we don't have enough evidence to proceed to proof beyond a reasonable doubt, and we will dismiss that. Like in this case, like you just said, let's say, one of the moms had been out of town for 2 weeks, and the house was not like that when she left. She arrived to the house being a mess. Then maybe some facts come out later on and the charges get dismissed against her. Or like we see all the time in cases where there's 4 people in a car and they find some drugs or a gun in the car. If no one accepts responsibility and claims the drugs or claims the gun, then oftentimes what you see is the police will arrest all 4 people inside the car. And by the time that case ends, rarely do 4 people get convicted of that. Maybe one of them ends up getting convicted, but that doesn't mean that all 4 didn't get arrested by the police to begin with, because they would argue, well, there was probable cause to arrest all 4 of them, even if there is not proof beyond a reasonable doubt to actually be able to convict them of the charges.
And it was just so shocking. And, you have 13 kids that are living in this house. They range from 13 years old down to an infant. House didn't seem particularly that big, and then you have 3 adults as well in this home, so like 16 people are in this house. I mean, how common is it in these cases of neglect where, because I typically think you might have 1 adult or 2 adults if it's a couple, but then to have 3 people and all seemingly, from at least we saw in body camera video, didn't really have much, didn't maybe understand, at least in Angel's case, didn't really seem to understand just how bad the conditions were inside the home. How common is something like this?
Sadly, it is all too common. I think, like I said, when people who investigate these cases, and especially DCS workers who are charged with this, so a lot of times these cases never make it into the criminal court system. Children's Services just gets a complaint. They're charged with investigating it and then try to put services into the home to the extent they can to try to help out the situation, whether that is, financial support, or getting appropriate housing, or getting the water bill paid so that the water can get turned back on, or putting people in temporary housing or something. I think those are the kind of things that Children's Services deals with probably on a daily basis. Most of the time, I think these cases do not rise to the level where they end up in a criminal court, as in this case. But for these officers, and from what it looked like on the body cam, it had crossed the line to the point that they can't just call DCS for some assistance. This is something that needs to be prosecuted.
Then on the flip side of this, because I know you're a criminal defense attorney, if one of these individuals came to you looking for defense, and I know that we've seen the body camera video, a lot of it's redacted inside the house, but you can just get the sense from what the police officers are saying is, in their opinion, it was not a good situation to be in. But how does someone, what's the strategy when it comes to defending someone who is facing a charge like this of neglect when, clearly there's something, images would be shown at a trial of very, very difficult conditions and a lot of children are inside the home?
Right. Well, one of the things that I think may be somewhat shocking, that if I don't practice in Ohio, but if my understanding of the statute in Ohio that they're being prosecuted in is correct, this is actually a misdemeanor offense, which the maximum penalty on that would be 180 days in jail. So essentially 6 months in jail and a fine. So even though we talk about how bad the conditions are, deplorable, I think is the word that the media was using or that the officers were using in their affidavit of complaint, at the end of the day, it's not that serious under the law as far as what the punishment could be. I think the bigger issue and the bigger punishment, if you will, is what happens in family court with the kids. Having kids taken away from you or having kids put temporarily in foster care, that's a serious thing, or you would hope that that's a very serious thing for those parents. And then there's all kinds of steps that usually the parents have to go through in order to get full custody of their kids back. And so if I'm representing someone in a case like this, that's one of the things that we're focusing on, is how do we make this situation right and put the parents and the kids back in the best place they can be, so that these situations and these conditions do not continue. Because the goal is always going to be for the family law court is to reunite kids with their parents. In a situation like this, I think that's what is going to end up happening at some point in time, and it sounds like that may have happened already. I think one of the stories I saw said that there had already been an accusation against one of them, or one of them had been charged with an endangering at some point in time previously. So what that leads me to believe is they had done whatever it was that DCS asked them to do at some time prior, and I would imagine at the end of the day in this case, that's what's going to end up happening as well.
Because I also wonder, just in more the strategy of what goes into a prosecutor's mind when you're figuring out what is the appropriate charge in a case. Because I think if you have children who have like flea bites and it's the situation of the house that might, that is in some ways, I could see someone saying like that's an injury. So it's like, when does that become the difference, I guess, between neglect and then child abuse?
Right, and again, that goes back to the definition of injury and whether you can claim that that's an injury, right? I mean, I think for some people you would say, oh, if I have bug bites all over my body or there's flea infestation in the house, that should qualify. Legally, I don't know that you have the best grounds to stand on. And again, I don't pretend to know all the laws or what the case law says in Ohio regarding this, but that's certainly, you're right, that's what I would be arguing as a defense attorney is that these things, we can agree that they're deplorable. We can agree that that's, unacceptable for kids to be living in those situations and try to rectify that. But that doesn't mean it rises to the level of, any kind of a felony child abuse type case, because there's not serious bodily injury, or the law does not consider what these kids were going through to be serious bodily injury.
No, it's just shocking always to see these kind of body camera cases. And I know for you, having worked in a prosecutor's office, that it's, I'm sure, not the easiest cases to go forward with when you think of all the kids that were inside the house. Josh Corman, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor. It's always great to have you on Law and Crime. Thanks for being with us.
You too. Thanks for having me.
That will do it for On the Case, presented by Law and Crime. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify. I'm Chris Stewart. We'll see you next time.